this episode unfolded fantastically. They grew the tension even more with many reviews of where are the Skrulls and what are they in the hierarchy of power in the world, and showed perfectly how dangerous are they, and leave a feeling of, is Nick Fury going to really have a chance against them? Because he is now going to have to team up to defeat all of that, but even the upcoming Super Skrull that is arriving, that even gave us a hint of his powers. Did you miss that? Don't worry, I will show every missing detail that you passed in this video, so don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and let's go with the videos. One of the biggest mysteries ever Secret Invasion Episode 1 was why the Skrulls are invading Earth after Captain Marvel promised to find them a new home. While the reveal of the Skrulls being persecuted no matter where they went is not an Easter egg itself, the scene is a reference to both Captain Marvel and Secret Invasion Episode 1. The scene adds context to Carol's ending in Captain Marvel and the conversations between Fury and Talos in Secret Invasion's premiere episode, making an Easter egg to both prior MCU projects. You can even see that he's recruiting a lot of Skrulls now to that in 97, if I'm not mistaken, so they can team up to make an army to infiltrate, and maybe they'll reveal later on what were those projects that he was talking about. And when showcasing the aftermath of the Moscow bombing from Episode 1, a newsreel of the global response of the attack is shown, from the response of an American news anchor to the statements from the NATO Secretary General and the UK Prime Minister. Various reactions to the bombing are showcased. This is an Easter egg to the hidden Skrull Council on Earth even before it was revealed in the episode. The episode revealed later, and the people in the newsreel were actually Skrulls working with Gravik. And this references, of course, the comics, and showcases also a reference between even the Illuminati, which is almost a secret society that reunites together to talk about the ways of the world. And if you think about it, they are sometimes polar opposites around there, but they are very powerful as well. And they discuss this example, what they're gonna do to keep power, and in this case the Skrulls, so they can overcome Earth from the population, and of course leave us thinking about how powerful they actually are. And just as the Skrull posing as NATO Secretary General, crashing the Avengers inclusion earlier, and in this episode Rhodey asks Fury, why don't you just call the other heroes for help? And Fury says that if the Avengers are involved, the Skrulls could pose as them and turn the heroes into terrorists. And of course it is a direct reference to the comic book, in which many of the Earth's mightiest heroes are impersonated by the Skrulls, who commit crazy acts against Earth under the disguise of Avengers and other superhero team members. They could actually get their own powers and impersonate them. That what made them really powerful. And this is probably going to happen in this show. And another crazy reference to the conversation between Rhodes and Fury is imploring Rhodes helps him due to the Shadow's struggle to rise through the ranks of power as black men in America. And he references the mediocre Alexander Pierces who run the world. And if you don't remember who Alexander Pierce is, if you don't remember Captain America the Winter Soldier, Alexander Pierce was actually was the guy who was controlling S.H.I.E.L.D. and he essentially controlled the world through acting as the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., but he was secretly working for Hydra, if you don't remember that. Talos also references that there is a Skrull colony run by Emperor Jogi, and the Skrulls do have an emperor in the comics, but his name is not Jogi. Instead, his name is Dorek, and the name is passed down to new emperors who actually have a similar warlike mentality as Gravik itself. And Jogi, however, is a Skrull in the comics. He's the leading scientist of the Imperial Corps in the comics, and his name is definitely a tease at what's to come in the episode, even if he never appears. Jogi was tasked with getting DNA samples from captured heroes who came to the Skrull homeworld. He experimented with their DNA to create Super Skrulls with special abilities, which appears to be exactly what is going to happen in this show and what's happening throughout this episode. And as a side note, in this particular scene, it's also revealed that Rhodey, he actually knows about the Skrulls looking for a home for like 15 years because he was part of a Black Ops operation who was leading to Skrulls coming to Earth. So they were coming to Earth. They didn't come exactly at the time that Talos was telling. Like they were coming piece by piece, because if there are millions of Skrulls in Earth, they didn't appear like in a huge ass ship with everyone watching. And one of the biggest mysteries introduced in this episode is what Gravik has planned for Rosa Dawn. a scientist, he has tasked with obtaining DNA samples across the globe in search for something called the harvest. And Guy looks into these samples. She's one from Groot. Groot's DNA was gained by the Skrulls from this time in Earth in either Infinity Wars or Endgame, with the file referencing to his homeworld of Planet X and his Flora-Colossus species. Similarly, the computer in Secret Invasion Episode 2 shows that the Skrulls have a DNA sample from the Frost Beast. This is a creature that we've seen in Thor Dark World that is transported to Earth during the film's final act and the convergence of the 9 realms. The Skrulls somehow obtained DNA from this beast after it fell to Earth, with the file mentioning Jotunheim as the home of the Frost Beast. Another reference to the Thor franchise, if you remember. And another of the samples showed to be possessed by the Skrulls as well in Secret Invasion is that of Cool Obsidian, which was one of Thanos' children, which is the one who has the arm cut off, who has the biggest hammer, and it is revealed that the Skrulls obtained the arm of Cool Obsidian somehow, sampling the being's DNA. An interesting fact is that Cool Obsidian's homeworld and species are listed as unknown, referencing the mystery of Thanos' children in the MCU. They were probably born in his ship. And finally, the last DNA sample is shown to be owned by the Skrulls is from an extremist human. Iron Man 3 introduced extremists being people that they can regenerate themselves with those pills, and the Skrulls actually gain access from someone who had that DNA, and it's clear that they are sampling abilities from superpower species across the galaxy as a means of improving the Skrulls, as mentioned as the captured alien interrogated by Sonya at the place at the butcher's place. And of course, it has so many great aspect. As I mentioned in this episode, I mentioned about Rhodey and Nick Fury talking. I think this conversation between them was amazing. And another aspect of great dialogue that this series is having was, of course, Talos talking with Nick Fury in the train when they're talking about how many Skrulls were there, how heavy he was feeling about actually Nick Fury abandoning him because he was the only human that he could trust, and he left, of course, to do other things, but he made a promise to Talos that he was gonna help the Skrulls. And of course, Talos wasn't open himself because I think he was afraid of actually there's a million of us here, you need to help all of us. Like, this responsibility was actually too much for Nick. And seeing these conversations throughout this episode showed to me that this show is really promising to be the best MCU show of all time. It's already really close to that, and only with these 2 episodes is gonna always, of course, come up to the ending of the show if it's gonna be good or not. So yeah, I think that's it for the end of the episode. And did you guys like the video? Did you guys like the reference that I brought to you? Did you guys remember anything new that I didn't catch? Leave in the comments. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. So goodbye and peace.